For those of us who received the email from Venerable Rinchen a few days ago, preparing for a Thanksgiving song, and I wanted to join it, but I quietly sent a response to her singly, not to all, saying that I will not be able to make it to the stand-in meeting, but have listened to the audio enough to be able to sing along. And I will not sing, but I will chant it. It runs like this. I have enough. I'm grateful. Share the blessings. And she had changed a little bit. This last one is modified a little bit into Buddhist. Bodhi Swaha. And then the next runs like this. May all be fed. May all things flourish. Yeah, may all awaken. Bodhi Swaha. So that really reflects our aspiration as a group here, studying Buddhism and living it, yet at the same time aspiring to become Buddhas. And not just for ourselves, just so that we can awaken others. So in line with that, I want to think awakening can come in different ways, different levels. But the highest awakening would be full awakened state of Buddhahood. And for individuals, the staircase to get to that is by taking monastic vows. Monastic vows in the monastic mindset. It fits into the monastic mindset. But it could be a lay vow or monastic vow. Irrespective of that, we begin with the pratimoksha vows. But so fortunate for us that we have already been familiarized with this expansive way, thinking, broad way of thinking, of encompassing everything in the Bodhisattva idol, that even when we take pratimoksha vows, we can bring that in to bear on our motivation. I take this pledge and take this vow for my awakening so that I could then progress along to full awakening to be of benefit to others. So kind of right from the very beginning, be that taking refuge or whatever, kind of let that be kind of influenced by the Bodhisattva spirit, just as His Holiness says, either or both, in the sense of aiming to ultimately follow the footsteps of the Bodhisattvas, or as a factor towards advancing in that direction. So that's how even the pratimoksha vows we do can be influenced by that. And this is the season of Vinaya vows with much more focus on Shikshamana. Nonetheless, what is very important for us to remind ourselves, and we always do that very well, is what Shakyapprabha, one of the 17 Nalanda masters that His Holiness has collected together and composed praises to them, and now Tankas appear. One of them is Shakyapprabha, and he was representing, he along with Gunaprabha were representing the Vinaya scholarship and the Vinaya, more particularly Vinaya embodiment. he has written a text called Vinaya Sutra. It is not an actual sutra. Here, sutra in the context of condensed. When all the Vinaya, the ocean of Vinaya teachings are condensed in this book, and that's the title, Vinaya Sutra. He opens it by this statement. All that is I'm going to say, all that is going to follow is in relation to the morality aiming at, morality grounded on renunciation. And in that context, Vinaya is described by referring to a source in Buddha's own words, saying Vinaya means two things. It has the connotation of taming. It comes to two things. Taming our downfalls, addressing them, and taming our afflictions. So, to cut short things, what we have to be very clear about is we are pursuing these Vinayas with the intention. Well, I make distinction between intention and motivation. So more importantly, with the motivation to attain, at the very least, nirvana, as a means, as a factor to achieve, then progress along to full awakening, because that's the only way. If there were to be another way, bodhisattvas would have definitely bypassed that. But there's no other way. So we have to be reminded of that, and then ask ourselves, why? Why did I need to take this? Why did I aspire to take this? Why do I need this? It's because of the sufferings. It's because of the sufferings that we cannot bear in the samsaric existence, not just in one condition, one workplace or on another place, but the entire samsaric workplace. So that's something we have to be very clear about. And who is the culprit? The culprit is the afflictions. The culprit is the afflictions. And the afflictions is such that it is not intrinsic to us. We are suffering not because we are sentient beings or we are beings. We are suffering not because we have mind. We are suffering not because we want happiness and do not want suffering. We are suffering because we have the afflictions. Within that afflictions, the root is self-grasping. And then another significant culprit is self-centeredness. So that part has to be understood very clearly. And in that respect, I say this with some sense of confidence in that the Vinaya taking is rooted in our disgust with the samsaric suffering. But at the same time, we do not start out right away in dealing with the afflictions without taking the Vinaya vows or any kind of vows. It's because the vow, the ethical vow, is the very basis upon which any other qualities that can live up to our aspiration of addressing the afflictions correctly, effectively, strongly, to eventually totally uproot them, including their very subtlest instincts, can be only possible. So, and that's the reason why Vinaya is stressed as called the basis of all the qualities, basis of all the realizations you aspire for. And how does Vinaya play that role? Vinaya plays this role by beginning with disciplining our mind, but indirectly, more directly disciplining our speech and our body. Actually, holding afflictions the culprit, we should be working the other way around. Go straight to the afflictions, but that's not always at hand and possible, easy. So that's why we work from outside in, taming our body and speech, nonetheless holding the root afflictions responsible for the unwanted behaviors that we are curbing, but yet at the same time, not quite feeling ourselves comfortable in reaching out to them and addressing them. And that's the reason we start out with Vinaya. And then Vinaya stays like that as providing the stable foundation and ground. On the basis of that, we then cultivate, we are then able to cultivate concentration practices. Concentrations to the point of achieving shamatha and then above. And then that's not where the buck stops. It has to go further because we are aspiring to be free from samsara, which means to be free from the bondage to the afflictions, to be free from our being slaves to our own afflictions. So mere concentration practices is not enough. It has to be then topped with the wisdom that is capable of actually addressing and facing the afflictions. But the wisdom can only gain that strength in really facing off with the afflictions with a very strong basis of concentration, which in turn is grounded on a strong, robust, moral, ethical foundation. So that's the reason. So in that respect, there's so much to learn about the afflictions. Yeah, earlier I was saying why we suffer is not because we have the mind, we have a body, just because we have a sense of I, just because we want happiness and do not want suffering. It's all because of the afflictions. So we have to be able to put the blame where it is due, and thus be able to appreciate in perspective these structures are levels of practices that Buddha lined up. And he did so from his own experience. So that said, we need to know what afflictions are. We need to know what afflictions are, what they do, their pitfalls, to a great extent, in and out. And that's what will give us the lifeline, the strength to then really benefit from having this, having worked on this ethical basis, and then build the concentration, and then be able to generate the wisdom to address the afflictions together with the instincts, subtle instincts. To cut it short because of the time, His Holiness says, when it comes to, in Tibetan it says, Nyumon lepti outsi ki top, outsi the topo matik. Many of you already know the word out. Out is another version of out. So I cannot translate it directly. So let me try to translate it directly. When it comes to afflictions, don't be friend with taking a chance. Does it convey the meaning? Or I was going to say, don't take chance on afflictions, it won't pan out. Otherwise, there's the danger that despite having attained precious human life, mere having that is not a guarantee that everything will go okay. It could be completely skewed, and it could become, instead of a precious human birth if it could become a cursed human birth with all those facilities. So let's all aspire to appreciate this preciousness and be able to take the most advantage of this, because our pursuit, our aim is much beyond this life, and that can only be achieved if we could succeed in continuously having the precious human birth one after the other, and thus be able to progress along the path. With this good note, I want to stop here.